Ethan Cole stands alone on the edge of the pier, salt air brushing against his face. The town's morning light glitters across the water, catching on the calluses of his hands. Behind him, people whisper. They point to the man who built half their homes, who fixed their church roof, who never took a cent more than he needed. Today, they look at him differently, because today they've learned the truth. He isn't just the humble carpenter who married the town nurse. He's the heir to one of the richest families in the country, a billionaire who chose to live as one of them. And the woman beside him? She married him for love, not knowing a single thing about his wealth. What brought them here? What made him hide who he was, and why did she love him anyway? To understand that, we need to go back. It's the early 2000s in a small coastal town where the scent of salt water mixes with the sound of church bells. The streets are lined with pastel houses, some fading, paint peeling under the weight of time. In one of those houses, Amelia Torres starts her day long before the sun does. Her alarm doesn't just wake her, it reminds her of everything she carries. Rent due. The clinic's electricity bill. Her mother's medication. She ties her hair back, smooths the wrinkles in her uniform, and steps quietly so she won't wake her mother sleeping in the next room. Outside, the dawn light catches her face, tired, yes, but still soft with kindness. She walks briskly toward the local clinic, her shoes crunching on gravel. Every step feels heavier these days, but she keeps going. Inside the clinic, it's chaos disguised as routine. The waiting area is full, children coughing, an old man clutching his chest, a pregnant woman fanning herself with a folded newspaper. The air conditioner broke weeks ago, and the town can't afford a replacement. Amelia moves between patients like sunlight through clouds, gentle, steady, necessary. She jokes with the children, comforts the anxious, and never shows how worried she truly is. She's not just a nurse. She's a lifeline. But beneath her composure, there's fear. The government grant that keeps this tiny clinic alive is running out. Her supervisor warned her last week. They might have to close within a month if they don't find another source of funding. When her shift ends, Amelia sits at her desk long after everyone else has gone home. She stares at the stacks of unpaid invoices, the flickering light above her buzzing like a cruel reminder. Her stomach growls, but she ignores it. She reaches for the one thing that gives her hope, her notebook of kindness projects. Inside are pages filled with plans she's never had time to finish: community food drives, free medical days, outreach visits to nearby villages. She whispers to herself, "If we can just hold on a little longer." And that's when life begins to shift. Across town, in a small workshop by the edge of the harbor, Ethan Cole works quietly, shaping a piece of wood into the leg of a chair. The rhythmic scrape of his chisel echoes through the room. Dust particles float in the sunlight streaming through cracked windows. To anyone watching, he's just another carpenter. A man content with simple work and humble living. But there's more to Ethan than the town knows. Years ago, he walked away from a life most people would envy. His father, Richard Cole, built one of the largest business empires in the country: hotels, factories, shipping lines. But behind the empire's glittering success were broken promises and ruined lives. Ethan saw the damage firsthand when one of his father's acquisitions bankrupted a small family-owned workshop, the same one belonging to Amelia's late father. He still remembers the night her father confronted his own, begging to keep the business that had been in his family for generations. His father refused. Weeks later, Amelia's father passed away from stress-related illness. Ethan never forgot. That was the night he decided to leave everything behind. The cars, the mansions, the shareholders, all of it. He changed his name, moved to this quiet town, and started building with his hands. For years, he's lived like this, quiet, content, unseen. And for the first time in his life, he feels free. But even peace can feel lonely. Amelia and Ethan's worlds exist side by side, unaware they're destined to collide. Every morning, she walks past the harbor on her way to work. Every morning, he's there, sanding or carving something in that workshop by the sea. She's noticed him, how he always greets the fishermen, how he gives leftover wood scraps to children building makeshift boats. She assumes he's just another kind soul in a town full of people struggling to survive. She has no idea he's watching her too, how he admires her quiet strength, her patience, her ability to make others smile even when she looks ready to collapse. They live within a few blocks of each other but never speak. Until the day everything changes. It's a stormy Thursday afternoon. The sky turns dark early, clouds rolling in heavy from the ocean. Inside the clinic, thunder rattles the windows. The old roof leaks in several places. Buckets line the hallway. Amelia is in the middle of treating a patient when the power goes out. Panic spreads through the waiting room. Machines beep, children cry. She stays calm, lighting candles, giving instructions, keeping everyone steady. But when the storm ends, she walks outside and sees what she's been dreading. Half the clinic's roof has caved in from the rain. The building is soaked, ceiling tiles broken, equipment damaged beyond repair. The clinic director shakes his head. "We can't afford the repairs, Amelia. This might be the end." She stands in the rain, feeling helpless. Everything she's fought for, every patient, every small act of kindness, seems to wash away with the stormwater rushing down the street. Then she hears a voice. "Need some help with that roof?" She turns. It's Ethan, the quiet carpenter from the harbor. He's holding a tarp, his shirt damp, a half smile on his face. Amelia blinks, surprised. "You work with wood, not miracles." "Maybe," he says, shrugging. "But sometimes a few good hands can keep the rain out long enough for hope to dry." That's how it begins. Over the next few days, Ethan shows up early and stays late. He refuses payment. "You've already paid enough," he says, meaning something deeper than she realizes. Amelia watches him work. He doesn't talk much, but his actions speak volumes. He repairs walls, replaces beams, even fixes the door hinges so they don't squeak anymore. He's skilled, too skilled for someone supposedly earning a carpenter's wage. When she asks how he learned to build so well, he just says, "You'd be surprised what you can learn when you stop letting other people do the work for you." As they work side by side, the clinic begins to come alive again. Patients return, curious about the man who's rebuilding their lifeline for free. He always smiles but never takes credit. One evening, as the sun sets, Amelia brings him a cup of coffee. "You don't have to keep doing this," she says softly. "We can't pay you back." Ethan looks at her and replies, "Maybe kindness doesn't need a receipt." That line stays with her. She goes home that night, thinking about the man who fixed her roof and her faith at the same time. Amelia's mother, Lucia, notices the change. "You're smiling more," she says over dinner. "What's his name?" Amelia laughs, embarrassed. "He's just helping with the clinic. That's all." But her mother knows better. She sees the light in her daughter's eyes, a hope she hasn't seen in years. Meanwhile, Ethan lies awake in his small room above the workshop, staring at the ceiling. He hasn't told her the truth. He doesn't want her to see him as anyone other than who he is now, a man earning his way through honest work. But a part of him worries, what happens when she finds out? For now, he chooses silence. The clinic finally reopens after weeks of repair. The townspeople throw a small celebration, nothing fancy, just homemade food, laughter, and relief. Amelia stands on the porch, watching the patients she loves walk through the doors again. She feels proud, but she also feels something new, a connection to Ethan that goes beyond gratitude. As the night ends, she thanks him again. "You didn't just fix a building," she says quietly. "You fixed something in me." He smiles. "Then maybe that's worth more than any paycheck." The camera would fade here. Two souls standing beneath string lights, both healing in different ways, either aware how much their lives are about to change. Before we continue with this incredible journey, I spent countless hours researching and crafting this story to bring you something truly meaningful. If stories like this touch your heart, and you want to see more acts of kindness that restore faith in humanity, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It means the world to me and helps these important stories reach others who need to hear them. The morning after the clinic's reopening celebration, the town feels different. There's a hum of new energy in the air, a quiet optimism that hadn't been there before. The people who once came to the clinic for medicine now come with gratitude in their hearts. And in the middle of it all, Amelia feels lighter than she has in years. She walks through the clinic hallways, running her fingers along the freshly repaired walls. Each nail, each beam, a reminder of Ethan's kindness. She hasn't seen him since last night, but his presence lingers in every corner. Outside, the ocean glimmers beneath the morning sun, the waves crashing gently against the rocks. Down by the harbor, Ethan is already at work. He's sanding a piece of driftwood, shaping it into something beautiful. He likes the rhythm, the scrape, the hum, the stillness between. It keeps his thoughts quiet. But today, his thoughts aren't quiet. They're full of her. He thinks about the way she smiled last night, the relief in her voice, the tears she tried to hide when she thanked him. It's been a long time since someone looked at him like that, not for what he could give, but for what he gave freely. Later that afternoon, Amelia finishes a long shift. The clinic is running smoothly, but the budget remains tight. There's still no money to pay Ethan for his work, and the guilt gnaws at her. She decides to stop by the harbor and at least offer him dinner. When she arrives, he's there, sleeves rolled up, sawdust on his arms, completely absorbed in his work. She watches quietly for a moment, admiring the focus in his movements. "Hey," she says softly, breaking the silence. He turns, wiping his hands on a rag. "Hey, nurse." She smiles. "I have a name, you know." "I know," he replies, teasing. "But you kind of look like every patient's guardian angel, so it fits." She laughs, shaking her head. "Well, Mr. Carpenter, I owe you dinner. Least I can do. You don't owe me anything." "I insist," she says, her tone firm but kind. "You help more than you realize." Ethan hesitates, but something in her voice disarms him. "All right," he says finally. "But only if I get to pay next time." Amelia grins. "Deal." That evening, they sit on a wooden bench overlooking the water. Amelia brought homemade soup and bread wrapped in a towel to keep warm. The conversation starts light, about work, the town, the endless sea breeze. But as the sky fades from orange to violet, their words grow deeper. Ethan asks, "Why do you do it? You could have worked at a big city hospital, better pay, easier life." She looks out at the horizon before answering. "My father used to say kindness is like the tide, it always comes back. This town was his home. When he died, I promised I'd take care of it in my own way." He listens, silently moved. She doesn't know her father's old workshop was one of the businesses crushed by Ethan's family empire. Guilt twists in his chest, but he hides it behind a soft smile. "You kept that promise," he says quietly. Amelia glances at him. "What about you? You could probably make more money somewhere else." He chuckles. "Money's overrated. I used to think success was about what you build. Turns out it's more about who you build it for." She tilts her head, intrigued. "You sound like someone who's lost something big." He pauses, his gaze distant. "Maybe I did. But sometimes losing something gives you the chance to find what really matters." For a long moment, they sit in silence. The waves fill the space between them. It's not awkward, it's peaceful, real. And in that silence, something unspoken begins to take root. The next day, Amelia walks into the clinic to find a small package waiting on her desk. There's no note, just a box wrapped in brown paper. She opens it. Inside are medical supplies the clinic has been out of for weeks. Bandages, gloves, even a new stethoscope. She looks around, puzzled. "Where did this come from?" Her colleague shrugs. "No idea. Delivery guy said someone dropped it off at dawn." Amelia smiles, she already knows who. That evening, she finds Ethan by the workshop again. "You wouldn't happen to know anything about a mystery delivery, would you?" He doesn't look up from his work. "Maybe someone just wanted to help." "Ethan." He finally meets her eyes. There's no point denying it. "You shouldn't have done that," she says gently. "Those supplies aren't cheap." He shrugs. "I had a few saved up from old projects. Consider it recycling. She shakes her head, smiling despite herself. You really can't help yourself, can you? Not when people like you keep showing me why it's worth it. It's in that moment that Amelia realizes his kindness isn't charity. It's a way of life. And for the first time in a long while, she feels seen. Days turn into weeks, and their lives begin to intertwine. Ethan keeps helping at the clinic whenever something breaks. Amelia brings him leftovers from her mother's kitchen. They start sharing stories about their pasts, their dreams, their scars. One night, while cleaning up after a long day, Amelia confides, "Sometimes I feel like I'm holding everything together with tape. One wrong move, and it'll all fall apart." Ethan looks at her, his voice low and steady. Maybe that's what strength really is, holding things together long enough for them to heal. His words stay with her. She begins to look at him differently, not just as the man who fixed her roof, but as someone who understands the quiet battles she fights every day. But the town isn't as kind as they are. Rumors begin to spread. Some people whisper that Amelia's too close to the carpenter. Others say she deserves better, someone with money, someone stable. The same voices that once praised her now question her choices. Ethan notices the change in how people look at him. He's used to being judged, but this time it stings, because it affects her. One evening, Amelia comes to the workshop looking distraught. "They don't know you," she says, almost in tears. "They don't see what I see." Ethan wipes his hands, calming her. "People talk. Let them. The only thing that matters is that you know who I am." She nods, but her voice trembles. "I do. I just wish they did too." He hesitates. The urge to tell her the truth burns inside him. He wants to say, "Amelia, I'm not who you think I am." But he doesn't. Not yet. Because he fears that once she knows, everything genuine between them will vanish. Despite the whispers, the town slowly starts noticing what's happening. The clinic runs smoother than ever. Patients are happier. Volunteers start showing up, inspired by Amelia and Ethan's quiet partnership. A fisherman donates fresh catch for clinic lunches. A local teacher offers to host a reading program for sick children. Small acts of kindness begin to ripple outward. One morning, an old woman stops Amelia outside the clinic. "You and that carpenter," she says with a toothless grin. "You're making the rest of us believe again." Amelia laughs, her heart swelling. She never imagined kindness could be contagious. But here it is, spreading like sunrise. It's late one evening when Amelia finds herself back at the harbor, the sky painted with stars. Ethan's still working, even though most of the town is asleep. She brings him a cup of coffee, their quiet tradition now. "You work too hard," she says. "So do you. I don't have a choice." "Maybe we both don't," he replies. There's a pause, the kind that says more than words. Amelia sits beside him, watching him shape a piece of oak into something smooth and beautiful. "What are you making?" He smiles faintly. "A chair. For the clinic's waiting room. I figured people could use something comfortable while they wait." Her eyes soften. "You think of everything." "I just fix what's broken," he says. "That's all I've ever done." She looks at him, sensing something behind those words, a shadow of regret. But she doesn't press. Not yet. As the days pass, their friendship deepens into something that neither of them can fully define. It's not romance, not yet, but it's something pure, something steady. Ethan starts noticing small things. How Amelia hums softly when she's nervous, how she always gives the best part of her lunch to someone else, how her laughter makes even the hardest day feel lighter. And Amelia begins to notice him too, how he always listens before speaking, how his hands carry both strength and gentleness, how he treats every person he meets with quiet respect. There's a rhythm to their connection now, two souls finding harmony in the simplest moments. One afternoon, the landlord of Amelia's building comes knocking. He tells her rent is going up. If she can't pay within 2 weeks, she'll have to move out. That night, she sits at her kitchen table, the bills spread out before her, tears welling up. She's given everything to the clinic, to the town, and now she might lose her home. Ethan finds out through a neighbor. The next morning, he shows up at her door with a small bag of groceries and a calm determination in his eyes. "Don't worry about the rent," he says quietly. "I'll help." Amelia shakes her head. "No, Ethan. You've done enough." "I mean it," he insists. "We'll figure it out together." She looks at him, and for the first time, she sees something in his eyes that feels like home. But she refuses the money. "I can't take that from you," she says. "I don't want to owe anyone." He smiles softly. "Then let's call it a loan of faith." That night, she lies awake, replaying his words. A loan of faith. Over the following days, Ethan helps her fix old furniture she can sell, helps organize a small community fundraiser, and convinces local shop owners to donate goods for raffle prizes. They raise enough to cover the rent, but something far more valuable happens in the process. The community unites. People who hadn't spoken in years work side by side. Strangers become friends. Kindness becomes currency. And Amelia realizes something powerful. She's not alone anymore. As she locks up the clinic one evening, Ethan is waiting outside. The streetlights cast a warm glow over his face. "You really didn't have to do all that," she says. "I know," he replies. "But I wanted to." She smiles, her heart full. "Thank you?" He shrugs, trying to hide how much it means. "Just doing what you would have done for me." They walk together in silence, the sound of the ocean behind them, their footsteps in sync. And though either says it aloud, both know something has changed. What would you do if you discovered someone with incredible talent living in such difficult circumstances? Would you offer help, even if they refuse to take it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. The months after the fundraiser feel like a new season in the town's life. The clinic is steady again, the community closer than ever, and laughter fills the streets in small but beautiful ways. Everywhere Amelia goes, she feels the warmth of gratitude, from patients who bring her flowers from their gardens, from children who draw her pictures, from neighbors who stop her just to say thank you. And behind all of it is Ethan, still humble, still working quietly at the harbor, still refusing any recognition. But something between them has shifted. They spend more time together now, long walks after work, late-night talks over coffee, unspoken moments where words aren't needed. The town sees it too. Some smile knowingly, others whisper behind their backs. Amelia tries to ignore the gossip, but deep down, she worries. She knows how people talk, and she's seen kindness twisted into rumor before. Still, she can't deny how safe she feels when she's with him. It's a calm evening, the kind that feels painted in gold. The tide is low, and the sky is streaked with the last light of the day. Amelia sits on a rock near the water, her shoes off, feet brushing against the cool sand. Ethan joins her, carrying 2 paper cups of coffee. He sits beside her, the silence between them comfortable. "Clinic's looking good," he says softly. "Thanks to you," she replies. He shakes his head. "Thanks to you? You're the one who keeps it alive." She laughs quietly. "Sometimes I wonder why I'm still here. I could have gone to the city, you know. Maybe had an easier life. So why didn't you?" She looks out at the horizon. "Because this town needs someone who doesn't give up on it. Someone who believes it's still worth saving." Ethan smiles faintly. "That sounds like something your father would have said." Her eyes widen slightly. "How'd you know that?" He pauses, too long, then covers it quickly. "You talk about him sometimes." "I just guessed." She studies him for a moment, sensing something she can't quite name. But then she lets it go, leaning back to watch the waves. Ethan breathes out quietly, relief washing through him. Over the next few weeks, they both become the heart of the town's small miracles. Amelia starts a free care Friday at the clinic, 1 day a week where no one pays. Ethan helps build new benches outside for patients who can't stand long. One of the benches is carved with words Amelia never asked for but will never forget. "Kindness heals what medicine cannot." She runs her fingers over the carving one morning, her eyes wet. Ethan pretends not to notice, but the way her hand lingers on the words tells him everything. Their acts of kindness spark others to join in. A fisherman donates part of his catch every Friday to feed the poor. A retired teacher offers free tutoring to kids after school. A baker starts leaving bread loaves by the clinic door every morning. Little by little, this town, once worn down by hardship, begins to come alive again. And though Amelia and Ethan never say it aloud, everyone knows it started with them. But good things rarely come without shadows. One afternoon, as Amelia walks through the market, she overhears two women talking near a fruit stall. "It's nice what she's doing for the clinic," one says, "but honestly, she deserves someone better than that poor carpenter." The other laughs. "Maybe she thinks love can pay the bills." Amelia freezes. The words sting more than she wants to admit. She doesn't confront them, she just keeps walking, holding her groceries tighter. That night, she tells her mother about it over dinner. Lucia sighs. "People will always talk, Mija. They don't see what's in his heart." "I know," Amelia says quietly. "But sometimes I wonder if I'm being foolish." Her mother reaches across the table, taking her hand. "Love isn't foolish if it's kind." Amelia nods, but doubt still lingers in her chest. Meanwhile, Ethan's secret grows harder to carry. He's received another letter from his family's lawyer. His father's company is struggling after bad investments, and they're asking him to return, to reclaim his inheritance, to fix what his father broke. He stares at the letter late into the night, torn between two worlds. If he goes back, he can protect Amelia, help the clinic, and restore the town in ways she can't imagine. But if he does, he'll have to reveal the truth, that the fortune he walked away from once came at the cost of her father's life. He can't bear the thought of hurting her. So he folds the letter, puts it away, and decides to stay silent, just a little longer. Over the next month, something subtle shifts between them. Amelia notices Ethan seems distracted. He spends longer hours at the workshop, sometimes disappearing without explanation. When she asks if everything's okay, he smiles and says, "Just busy with a few orders." But she can feel the distance, like there's a door between them that wasn't there before. One evening, she walks to the harbor to surprise him with dinner, but when she gets there, he's not alone. A man in a suit stands in front of the workshop, holding a briefcase. They're arguing. Amelia stays hidden, just out of sight. The man's voice is sharp. "You can't hide forever, Ethan. You have responsibilities. Your father is expecting an answer." Her heart skips. "Ethan?" The man continues, lowering his voice. "You've played carpenter long enough. This little town can survive without you." Ethan's reply is low but firm. "No. I won't go back. Not yet." The man glares. "You're making a mistake. Sooner or later they'll find out who you are." Ethan clenches his jaw. "Then I'll deal with it when it happens." The man leaves, his footsteps echoing down the dock. Amelia stands frozen, her mind racing. Who is he really? She doesn't confront Ethan that night. She just walks home quietly, her thoughts tangled in confusion and hurt. The next few days feel strange. Ethan senses something's wrong. Amelia is distant, her smiles thinner, her laughter shorter. Finally, he asks, "Did I do something?" She shakes her head. "No. I thought I knew you better than I do." His heart sinks. "What do you mean?" She hesitates, searching his face. "Who are you, Ethan? Really?" He freezes, and in that split second, she knows the answer. "There's something you're not telling me," she says softly. "I don't need your money. I don't need anything from you. I just need honesty." He takes a breath, his voice breaking slightly. "Amelia, I want to tell you everything. I just need time." She nods, but her eyes glisten. "I've given you time. What I can't give is trust without truth." Then she walks away. Ethan stands there, the sound of her footsteps fading like the tide pulling out to sea. That night, Ethan sits by the ocean, staring at the waves. He thinks about all the times she smiled at him, trusted him, believed in him. He left his fortune to escape his father's cruelty, but now, his silence has become its own kind of betrayal. He knows he has to tell her. But before he can, another storm hits, not from the sky, but from the world around them. A new government inspection threatens to shut the clinic down again, citing safety violations, outdated equipment, and unpaid licensing fees. Amelia's heart sinks when she reads the notice. The repairs they made aren't enough to meet the new standards. Without funding, the clinic will close in 30 days. She feels the walls closing in. After everything they've built, every act of kindness, every life saved, it's all at risk again. Ethan learns of it through the townspeople. He rushes to her side, finding her sitting on the clinic steps, papers scattered around her, tears streaking her face. He kneels beside her. "We'll fix this." She shakes her head. "We can't. It's over. Amelia." "No," she says, her voice breaking. "I can't keep asking for miracles." Ethan takes her hands. "Then let me be one." She looks up at him, searching his eyes. "Who are you really?" And this time, he can't look away. He stands, running a hand through his hair, his heart pounding. "My name isn't just Ethan Cole. My father is Richard Cole, founder of Cole Industries." Amelia's breath catches. "Cole Industries? The same company that—" "Yes," he says quietly. "The same one that took your father's workshop." Her eyes fill with disbelief, then hurt. "You knew?" "I found out years ago. I left because of it. I couldn't live with what he did." She stares at him, torn between anger and heartbreak. "So all this time, you were a billionaire pretending to be poor?" "No," he says, his voice trembling. "I was a man trying to be good." The silence that follows is heavier than any storm. Have you ever had to overcome obstacles to help someone you cared about? What did it teach you about love, honesty, and sacrifice? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. The silence after Ethan's confession hangs heavy in the room. Neither of them speaks for a long time. Only the sound of the clinic's old clock fills the space between them. Amelia stands frozen, her heart pounding. Ethan's words replay in her head like echoes she can't escape. Cole Industries. Her father's workshop. The man she thought she knew. She turns away, her voice trembling. "All this time, you let me believe we were the same, that we were fighting the same battle." Ethan's voice is low, pleading. "We were. I never wanted to lie to you. I just wanted to be someone you could trust, someone worthy of you." Her hands shake. "Worthy? You think hiding the truth made you worthy? You watched me struggle, Ethan. You watched me fight to keep this clinic alive, and you could have fixed it all with one phone call." "I didn't want to fix it with money," he says softly. "I wanted to fix it with love." Amelia closes her eyes, tears falling silently. "Love without honesty isn't love at all." And with that, she walks out. Ethan doesn't stop her. He can't. The town notices the change immediately. Amelia still goes to the clinic every morning, but her smile is gone. She moves like a shadow of herself, polite, kind, but distant. Ethan keeps his distance too. He spends his nights at the workshop, alone, the hum of the sea outside his only companion. He starts donating anonymously. New equipment for the clinic, funds for licensing, supplies for patients. But Amelia refuses to use them once she realizes who sent them. "I don't need his charity," she tells her mother quietly. "What I needed was his truth." Lucia sighs. "Maybe what he gave you was both." Amelia doesn't respond. She can't decide what hurts more, his silence before, or his absence now. One night, a storm hits the coast, the worst in years. Winds tear through the harbor, roofs shatter, trees crash against power lines. The clinic's roof begins to leak, flooding the patient ward. Amelia and her small staff rush to save supplies, carrying sick patients to higher ground. In the chaos, she slips on the wet floor, hitting her shoulder hard. Pain shoots through her arm, but she keeps going. Then, through the rain, she sees headlights. A truck stops outside the clinic. Ethan jumps out, drenched, shouting over the storm. Get everyone out! The river's rising! Amelia freezes, her eyes wide. Ethan, what are you? No time! He yells, running inside. I'll get the generator! She watches as he wades through waist-deep water, his clothes soaked, his hands bleeding from debris. He doesn't stop until every patient is safe. When the floodwaters finally recede hours later, the clinic is ruined. Walls torn apart, equipment destroyed. But no one is lost. And for the first time since she walked away, Amelia looks at him, really looks at him. His face tired, eyes red, but filled with the same quiet determination that made her fall in love in the first place. The next morning, the storm has passed, but the damage is everywhere. The harbor is flooded. Homes are wrecked. The clinic is barely standing. The town gathers, broken but not beaten. And then, something remarkable happens. Ethan steps forward. Not as the poor carpenter. Not as the hidden billionaire. But as a man who refuses to let the people he loves suffer again. He stands in the town square, hands shaking, voice raw. I haven't been honest with all of you. He begins. My name is Ethan Cole, yes, from that Cole family. I left that life years ago because I saw what greed can do to good people. I came here to start over. And now, I want to make things right. The crowd murmurs, surprise, disbelief, even anger. But Amelia stands silently in the back, watching him. Ethan continues, his voice breaking. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want to help rebuild, not because I have money, but because I finally understand what wealth should be used for. He announces that he's donating a large portion of his fortune to rebuild the town, the clinic, the schools, and the harbor. But more importantly, he sets up a community trust fund, managed not by him, but by the townspeople themselves. No one should ever lose their home or their hope because of money, he says quietly. The crowd begins to clap, first a few, then many. And for the first time, Amelia smiles through her tears. Over the following months, the town rebuilds together. Amelia oversees the restoration of the clinic, not as a doctor or a nurse this time, but as a leader. She coordinates volunteers, trains young medics, and ensures the new clinic runs as a community partnership. Ethan works beside her every day. He doesn't talk much, doesn't push for forgiveness, he just shows up. When he rebuilds the old wooden bench outside, he carves new words into it. Love without truth is only half a miracle. Amelia sees it one morning, running her fingers over the carving. She closes her eyes, whispering, You finally understand. And for the first time in months, she lets herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this was the kind of love that needed breaking to become whole. When the clinic finally reopens, it's brighter, stronger, and more alive than ever before. The town celebrates. Children run through the courtyard, families embrace, laughter fills the air. But Ethan knows it's time for him to leave. He's received a letter from his family again, this time asking him to take control of coal industries for real, to change it from within. He goes to the clinic one last time. Amelia is outside, watering the garden. She turns surprised. You're leaving, she says quietly. He nods. It's time I stop running from the past and start fixing it. She looks down. I thought that's what you were doing here. I was, he says. But this town doesn't need me anymore. It has you. They stand in silence for a moment, the weight of unspoken feelings between them. Finally, Amelia steps closer. You once said love without honesty isn't love at all. But maybe forgiveness is what gives it a second chance. Ethan's eyes glisten. Does that mean? She shakes her head gently. It means I forgive you. But we both have work to do, me here, you out there. He nods, understanding. They embrace, a quiet, lingering hug that says everything words can't. Then he leaves, walking down the same dusty road he once arrived on, the morning sun breaking through the clouds. A year passes. The town thrives. The clinic grows into a small hospital. The trust fund helps families rebuild homes, start businesses, and send their children to school. On the bench outside the clinic, A brass plaque gleams in the sunlight. Dedicated to those who choose love over wealth. Amelia sits there one morning, sipping her coffee. She looks out toward the sea and smiles softly. A letter sits beside her, stamped from New York. It's from Ethan. Inside is a short note, written in his familiar, steady handwriting. We've changed the company. It's helping small towns again, investing in people, not profits. Everything you taught me still guides me. I still carry your kindness with me, Amelia. Always. Amelia closes the letter and looks out at the horizon, her eyes glistening with pride, not sadness, but peace. Because in the end, their love didn't need to be forever to be true. It needed to be honest, selfless, and kind. And in that way, it never ended at all. Later that afternoon, a young nurse sits beside Amelia on the bench. Do you ever miss him? She asks gently. Amelia smiles faintly. Every day. But I don't miss who he was. I miss what we built together. The nurse tilts her head. You mean the clinic? No, Amelia says, eyes soft. I mean this town, this hope. The belief that kindness can heal what money never could. She looks toward the ocean, the same place where their story began, and whispers. Thank you, Ethan. This story shows how one act of kindness can change everything. What's one way you could make a difference in someone's life today? Challenge yourself and share your commitment in the comments below. The sound of seagulls echoes softly over the harbor. The town, once scarred by loss, struggle, and storms, now hums with quiet strength. The new clinic stands proudly by the sea, its white walls gleaming in the morning sun. Children play near the garden, their laughter carrying on the breeze. The smell of fresh bread drifts from the nearby bakery, rebuilt, thriving, and generous as ever. And though life moves forward, everyone still remembers how it all began. A nurse who never stopped believing in kindness. A man who walked away from wealth to rediscover his soul. And a community that chose compassion over judgment. Amelia Torres still works at the clinic, though her title has changed. She's now the director of community health, running outreach programs across nearby towns. She spends her days training young nurses, sharing her philosophy that medicine can treat illness, but kindness heals the person. The old clinic bench still sits outside, its carving weathered by salt and time, but the message clear. Love without truth is only half a miracle. Sometimes she finds strangers sitting there, reading the words, not knowing who carved them or why, only that they feel something shift inside. That's the beauty of kindness. It keeps giving long after the giver is gone. Ethan returned to the city. But he's no longer the man he once was. Under his leadership, coal industries transformed completely. The company now funds small-town projects, rebuilding workshops, schools, and medical centers across the country. Instead of closing family businesses, they invest in them. Instead of chasing power, they build community. And at every board meeting, Ethan keeps a small photo of the old clinic on his desk, a constant reminder of the place, and the woman, who taught him what true wealth means. He doesn't speak publicly about his past. He doesn't take credit for his philanthropy. But his actions speak louder than any headline. Those who know him say that sometimes, when he finishes a long day, he looks out the window at the skyline and whispers one name softly under his breath. Amelia. The town's transformation becomes a story of hope that travels far beyond its borders. A local newspaper publishes an article titled, "The Village Kindness Built," inspiring donations and volunteers from across the region. Other communities reach out, asking how they too can start their own kindness projects. Soon, the Kindness Heals initiative spreads to dozens of towns, small medical centers funded by collective effort, each bearing a simple plaque. Inspired by the Amelia Project. And somewhere in the fine print, a small anonymous donor's name always appears. E. Cole. 3 years later, Amelia attends a national conference on rural healthcare in the capital. She walks through the exhibition hall, surrounded by professionals and entrepreneurs, all eager to make a difference. As she pauses by a photo display, images of community projects funded by coal industries, she hears a familiar voice behind her. "Didn't expect to see you here," Ethan says gently. She turns, her breath catching for a moment. He looks older, wiser, calmer, but his eyes are still the same. They share a quiet smile. No words at first, just a soft understanding. Finally, she says, "Looks like you kept your promise." He nods. "Looks like you did too." They sit together for a few minutes, talking about the projects, the town, the people they both love. There's no grand declaration, no fairy tale reunion, just mutual respect, deep gratitude, and an unspoken truth that what they built together was far bigger than either of them. When they part, Ethan says softly, "Keep healing them, Amelia." And she replies, "Keep building the world they deserve." As the camera fades to scenes of the town, children laughing, neighbors helping each other, the clinic's doors open wide, the narrator's voice softens. Sometimes, the greatest love stories aren't about perfect endings. They're about imperfect people choosing to be kind, even when it's hard. Amelia and Ethan's story reminds us that wealth isn't measured in what we own, but in what we give. That forgiveness can be a greater act of courage than revenge. And that a single act of compassion can ripple through generations. Because in the end, kindness doesn't just rebuild clinics or towns. It rebuilds hearts. Stories like this remind us that extraordinary kindness still exists, even in the smallest corners of the world. If this story touched your heart, please like this video so more people can discover it. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that restore faith in humanity. Tales that remind us that love, honesty, and compassion still matter. Now it's your turn. What act of kindness will you perform this week? Share it in the comments. You never know whose life your story might change next. Thank you for watching. And remember, you don't need to be rich to change the world. You just need to care.